We are late. We are back.
It's my fault. I am the cause of all woe this morning.
Too much tryptophan in the turkey. The hair of the turkey.
Too much nose buried in a book, but yeah.
Which is a good book, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Did we even say, I don't want to just disclose your project.
Well, we can talk about the book. I'm happy to, but
we're working on a book. And
yeah, just don't say the title. That's
okay.
the important part.
Having written The Great Realignment, which reframed my brain and created new paradigms in terms of things about, origins of human incentives and money and getting to, where is this all going under this paradigm? Like, where is this headed? And Bitcoin breaks all models and changes all things and is like not just an escape hatch, but is the roots into the system where the system cannot unheal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so yes, your next project gets deeper and actually I think is hugely groundbreaking. I've been reading drafts and providing feedback, but it's
and awesome feedback, by the way. I don't know if you're doing that with a robot or if you're doing it yourself, but holy cow.
I just read it. So I think best if this sounds so like I'm a boomer now. I'm getting old. I just say I'm 50. I print it out. I have to print it out so that I can sit back in my lounge or lay in bed or sit at a stool or wherever I'm at. I've got it on paper with a nice kind of an ink pen that bleeds just enough.
Right.
And then I mark it. So as I'm thinking, because I might scribble things out, I might wander, I might, and it's not like typed in. So I ink all over it as I'm thinking, and I can go thumb back and forth. And it helps me think and flow as I'm editing mode. And then I'll take all that and I sit down like a monkey and I go page by page and kind of do a second draft on my edits and type them in so that you don't have to like try to read my penmanship.
But anyway, it's a very generous process. And some really neat little like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't recognize that as a fragment. Huh. I guess I'm gonna fix that and fix this. And some of the commas I think the commas are appropriately placed, but it's kind of like a comma, who cares, right? But
the way the brain thinks isn't necessarily the way grammar is supposed to read. So
yeah. And I mean, for me, I'm kind of I'm a comma guy, but this new work that I'm doing, we were just talking offline. Like, this is my first time writing with robot assistants, and man, it's like night and fucking day. Pardon my French, but it's like. It's such a huge difference. I actually just sent Fritz some of my previous research, but like that body of work that I just sent you is like, A, it's partial. Like there's still a couple other articles I didn't include in there, but B, each one of those things in total, devoting full-time effort to it, like not doing anything else. I was just able to focus on academia solely when I was writing those papers. It took weeks and weeks and weeks. Like that bankruptcy paper was a 4-part series that ended up in the Banking Law Journal. That probably took 3 months, but it's like 25,000 words, and that's just Google and spending like hours and hours and hours with the Blue Book and trying to make sure that my citations are right, and then verifying all sources and verifying citations and pulling legal texts and being on Lexis and doing all this kind of stuff. And the same thing with like the polygraph study. Like it was just like hours and hours and hours just grinding through like, this isn't quite right. This study kind of says it, but it kind of screws it up here. And here it is. Yeah. But I can't access it because I don't have access to that. God damn it. I got to go to school and then, pull it from the library and see if it, and then read it at the school and go, oh, this actually doesn't say what the abstract says. Oh shit. So now I got to go find something else.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like constant, right? Robot is just like, hey, find me this. And it's like, here you go. And I can go look, pull the abstract, read the article, whatever, and go, yeah, that was like a great reference. Thank you. Like,
it's unbelievable what, our kids and grandkids are going to assume is just how things should work, as they should, like things should be better, right? Yeah. And I'll be describing how, yes, the internet existed when I went to college, but it wasn't like everything was just on the internet and it was slow. Or, I mean, I had to dial up with a 1200 baud. Well, no, it was a 56K baud modem at the time.
Right.
And then I got internet a couple years later, like broadband, what they had at the time. And
baby,
I used to just walk through the snow, and it was uphill, I think both ways, to the library, And then what I had was the paper books they had, and I had to know the Dewey Decimal System or use their system and search through it. And then I'd find whatever books they happen to have there
Right.
in
Yeah.
that, library in college in Montana. And you just hoped, I mean, basically talk about the ability, in parallel with the themes of some of your book, the ability of like a ministry to hold the keys to the gate to knowledge. We were just talking about peer review.
Yeah.
The access to information and the direction that you're allowed to study or think. Not that it was like, not that the intention was about control. It's just that the mechanisms that existed, that's all they knew. That's all they could do. That was the best you could do.
Right. Yeah.
And now, like, yeah, as you're doing research and even in my editing, I would just be like, what's the context behind this word? Or is this grammar just right? I think it's right. Oh, wait, no, I'm wrong. Because the robot, instead of having to have I used to have a paper book of the rules, the grammar rules, and there were different sets of rules. The robot will just list them all down for me and give me the best recommendation and say, yeah, no, that's cool. Right. I'm like, wow. Like back in my day, I used to hit 2 spaces after every period. Why? Because typewriters worked better.
Well, because they're uniform font widths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would the thing would blur because, you can't have a variable font on a typewriter. That doesn't work. Right. So that was like Steve Jobs' big thing in the beginning. Like, I want variable fonts like that. That was literally one of his first inventions that sort of changed things. It went from Courier, right, to Helvetica or Arial or whatever, but each letter can sort of shift as needed. So the word can bunch and then the spaces can be clear. It was what a revolution, right? But I mean, if you think about kids today, they don't even notice that. I mean, they don't even know how to write things on paper anymore. They're just
So the research available now, and then just the access to knowledge and what would break down the ministry of science. And it's not even, when you look at it, what we call science is a weird process of politics, a different kind of politics in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely in the social sciences, right? That is where it's really bad. If you get to the humanities, it's just a joke, right? There's no rigor at all. It's just a complete freaking sham. But when you get to the hard sciences, it's a much cleaner process, right? Because you come up with a hypothesis, you find a valid way to test it, then you test it, and then you just report the results, right? So your article is not you have to come up with a theory or a thesis or a reason or this or that, the other thing. You just kind of go, I think this will happen if I push this thing into this thing. Let's see. Whoa, that was completely different from what I thought would happen. I actually found out that if you push this thing into this thing, this happens. Tick, 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 tick. That's it, right? So a lot of that politics can get kind of cast aside because no amount of politics can prevent someone from trying to replicate your study and going, yeah, he's right. So it's a very democratized process because of the scientific method. But when it comes to the social sciences, it doesn't have that rigidity. And a lot of it is interpretive and subjective, and you might try and quantify, but there's a limit to what you can quantify, right? So all of it requires some interpretation. And especially when you get into history and archaeology and anthropology and all that kind of stuff, it's it's like walking into a crime scene that's 1,000 years old and going, okay, what happened here? It's just I don't know. It looks like someone was clearly dead in the corner and someone was clearly dead over in this corner. Why do you think that happened? Well,
when we don't know, archaeologists or anthropologists can call it some sort of ceremonial religious belief. Right. It was a religious belief they had.
But that's the thing is it ends up being who's the person reporting it? That tells you more about the research than anything else. And so and those are relatively hard sciences among the social sciences, right? So
So say you deviate from the kind of the existing models and
the orthodox
break through to get published or have your own mentor or tenured professor who's managing you allow it. It might be no, you're veering off track here.
Well, that was the crazy thing. When I was at the LSE, dude, I submitted my master's thesis for publication while I was still there, and it got published, right? And I went and told one of the professors, and she was right in the middle of writing a paper that she had struggled to get published, and this was like her third revision, and she was like super stressed out about it. And I remember I told her, I was like, oh, hey, yeah, my paper just got published in Policing, a Journal of Policy and Practice. And she was just like, it wasn't like, wow, that's so awesome. Good for you, man. That's great. It was just like, I mean, it was just like nearly, it was like masked rage and hatred. I was just like, fuck, you know, I mean, I know her career is sort of hinging on getting published or whatever, but like having this little upstart master's student that just kind of came in and was like, oh yeah, I just, you know, I published like 6 or 7 papers, like no biggie, you know. Whereas like all my professors were like routinely struggling, you know, to like get even just one paper across the line. So it's a weird
competitive game as well.
Yeah,
there's a weird
very bizarre.
I remember seeing that even in my little university I went to. I remember the aspects of competition that, you know, there was turf, like you were working in an area and that was like your turf, and to have people be working on something different or are arguing with you. I mean, not that there wasn't discussion happening, but there was turf defending for sure.
Yeah. So, oh yeah. It's a really bizarre process.
I saw a funny, oh gosh, it's been a few months, but I remember reading about, I think it was in chemistry. It was a group of undergrads or maybe a general set of students who were all sending in papers for review and publishing and peer review. And they're in this chemistry area of science and peer review. And that a number of them, like they'd submit stuff and they'd kind of get your typical type of feedback or it'd be kind of ignored. And they're like, are people even really reading these or what, you know, where does this go really? Because you know, it's blind study stuff. And so they would, a group of them intentionally added complete bits of like a garbage sentence in the middle of it or something way wrong and off just to see, hey, will you at least see this or flag this?
Right.
Nope. It's like if you actually read it, you would at least have seen that.
Right.
But there was some other process going on where like it just like 80% of the papers, that kind of test garbage was not reviewed or seen. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the trouble is like 80% of the papers just suck, right? Like they're just no good.
There's probably that too.
I mean, that's the reality. Like, you know, I've seen some of the papers that people have submitted and I just go, dude, like I can pick this apart by this third paragraph. Like I'm already seeing holes in your logic and your argument and they just can't see it. Right. And they get married to it and they kind of, you know, it's kind of the same thing. Like I used to see guys that would like start bands and stuff and they were just terrible. Like they're just not good. They wouldn't make good music, but they were convinced that they were about to be, I'm guilty of it too. Right. Like I made a bunch of songs that I was like, man, this is going to be like a huge hit, but like no clue that like it was so bad. It shouldn't have even been made, let alone like promoted.
Before you go rock, you got to start punk.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and I saw that a lot in the academic world too. And like even my peers that were writing papers, they go, hey, would you read my paper? And I'd look at it and just be like, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, I mean, like, you know, you might consider maybe think about like this, but yeah, it's good. You know, okay, yeah, I'm thinking about submitting it for publication. Like, really? You know, like, are you sure about that? So like if someone's putting a sentence in there and going, see, they're not even reading my work, it's like they've read enough of it to go, oh, this is a trash argument. You know, I mean, like it doesn't take much to, you know, it's just like music or anything else. Like you don't have to listen to the whole song to make sure every single note was correct. You just kind of listen to it for 30 seconds, go, nope, don't like that song. We're done. Right. Yeah, like there's no like deep analysis of it. They just go, oh, this is trash. Sorry, moving on. Same thing with a movie, same thing with a TV show, same thing with a piece of art, almost anything, right? Like anything where you can very rapidly assign a subjective value judgment to it, it's a no-brainer. And if you get 500 submissions and you're an editorial team of 4, right? Like you have to like look at some things and just go, nope, already seen this paper 100 times, not putting that out. You know, and it's a pain in the ass to get peer review lined up. Like you have to go find the reviewers, you have to, you know, email back and forth and, well, when can you have this review done? And then the reviewer sits on it for 3 weeks and then they, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to get to that next week. And then they don't. So it's not like a trivial process. So if you do select something, you want it to be something that's likely to get over the line. And those are the papers that you're going to read where you skim it and go, oh, this is kind of interesting. I haven't heard this before. Dig in a little bit deeper and go, oh, wow, that is okay. Yeah. All right. Here, let's all read this now. Right. Not like, let's read every single piece of garbage that comes across our desk because it's fair to the author. It's like nobody, if your paper sucks, your paper sucks. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's my peer review. And so it's kind of the funny Bitcoin cultural meme of going into Thanksgiving time with family and friends. And if only that price was up and you could sort of sit back and be like, yep, I'm good. And when the price is down, it's like, so Johnny, how are your little coins doing? Because, I bet it's not fun. And anyway, so I used to think about those things more. This past Thanksgiving recently, I didn't care nearly as much at all because I just sort of am not orange pilling the way I used to ever try to do.
Right.
I don't care as much, and people either get it or they don't. And if they do, it's so fiat. And so interestingly, so at Thanksgiving, it's like, I'm not going to bring it up. Conversation can be going on about everything under the sun. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking aspects of money or Bitcoin or the economy and everything macro. And I didn't, so I'm thinking stuff, but I didn't have to talk anything Bitcoin wise, or I didn't feel like, well, Bitcoin fixes this or whatever. It's just like, I'm over that. But then Bitcoin did come up. An in-law brought it up, and actually they're so sort of not really paying attention that they're like, oh man, Bitcoin's so expensive now though, isn't it? And I'm like, well, actually it's
kind of
for
down.
The dollar, it's down. It's it's cheaper. If you're looking at like getting any, like it's actually down right now if you wanted to get your bang for your buck. And they're like, is it? Like, isn't it like they're like, it was I don't know. They didn't know what the price was at all. And so I looked it up real quick and I'm like, oh, it's up to in dollars 91,000 something or other, as opposed to I was looking at the 85K gang. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's up a little, but I mean, it had a higher high, but it's down right now. But in the minds of some people that just are not paying attention, in their heads, Bitcoin's expensive. Like Bitcoin is just expensive. Also, gold is up. Gold is really up. You want to have something with intrinsic value. So there was the intrinsic value thought. And then, but what about XRP? Well, have you heard of XRP? That came up, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Please don't talk to me about that. I really don't want to go down that road, right? Like,
yeah. But anyway, so, and also, well, no, I heard that. So the creator of Bitcoin, I mean, couldn't he just sell all his or change it or something? I'm like, nope.
Well, he could sell it all. Like he could certainly sell 1 million Bitcoin into the market, no problem.
Let's say he sold all of it, and okay, so what does that do to the price these days? The market's eating it up, so it would go down, but
it would go down significantly, dude. I mean, that would crash the market like overnight. If 1 million coins hit the market just in one fucking swoop, dude, that's not like
psychologically, what does it mean? Like Satoshi's around and alive and is what, cashing out? What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly.
What? So he could do more, right? Well, no. But anyway, it'd be funny. So that's the extent of my real dabblings on any Bitcoin conversation on Thanksgiving. But it was like kind of nothing burger, easy.
Yeah. I mean, I was so like checked out of the Thanksgiving thing. I just spent almost all my time either working on the office or working on the book, right? So I don't know, man. My whole like, I'm really enjoying this process of writing because it's like really taking a lot of things that I've been talking about and thinking about and kind of circling around for, like even the last book I wrote, I almost call it like a throwaway book because it's not like I spent a lot of time doing deep research. I just kind of like wrote shit that was on the top of my head, right? And I wrote that book in like lightning speed, especially considering I had no robot assistance. I was just writing, But this new one, it's like actually like really thinking through the problem has been kind of rewarding, man. Like it's kind of exciting. So when it comes time for like those Bitcoin conversations around the dinner table, I'm just like, because I'm talking about like fixity and making things legible, and and like this grand, thesis that's kind of coming to life right in front of me. It makes the Bitcoin conversation seem sort of like secondary almost. It's like, well, this thing has this kind of like small percentage probability of like making the world a better place, but if it takes hold, then we're going to be golden. If it doesn't, this is just kind of the way it's always been. Like there's nothing new here. There's nothing new under the sun. But it's certainly, I don't know, man. It would be interesting to see how this all ends up. I don't know if I'll still be counted among the Bitcoin maxis or if I'll be counted among the excommunicated, Bitcoin cheerleaders.
I think time would judge better in terms of, so, even people who get into Bitcoin for the right reasons, you can kind of get, I don't want to say stuck, but you get into Bitcoin and it's a path and you go down the path. You can get to a place which is sort of the edge of what your brain or psyche, ego is willing to accept, and you can get stuck there.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's number go up. For some, that's just store of value, maybe generational wealth. Down in there is fiat thinking, you might say, like you want yours, and you also say you want the world to change, but it's going to change somehow, and you don't fully. I mean, it's a big, complicated world out there. So how it all does that, you may be integrating aspects of your own faith into it versus knowing.
Right. Yeah.
And which I've been there, and I see it out there. Like Bitcoin's just going to do all this. Okay. How? And then also, well, how does it do that without, say, as it realigns the system or forces old players, stodgy controllers to change? Do they stagnate and break and rot, or make things worse for you for a while if we're stuck with it,
right.
Which we all kind of are. So things change. With change comes hardship or challenge, which, like the dream, the fantasy Bitcoin standard world you may have is not like this world.
Right.
We're not in that world.
Right.
That world could be very, very good. I think that adjustment could be very, very weird.
Yeah.
Or hard.
Potentially. I don't know, man.
But getting your mind around that is hard. So anyway, thinking of your book in the ideas that you are putting out there, I think in history, it all makes absolute so much sense, where you look down the path and you're like, wow, obviously the players involved here shall not relinquish control, shall do everything under their power to maintain control. It's been nasty. It's going to get nasty. Even as they're like, okay, no, we do Bitcoin, but they're like, enter our walled garden of Bitcoin.
Right.
You can do Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is changing things. And you can only really do that easily or legally in our cage.
Right. Yeah.
And you see that happening. So it's not just, well, but it's Bitcoin, so Bitcoin will fix it.
Right.
Well, if it remains decentralized and secure,
and right.
Yeah, you could be free, or maybe you have to get sneaky about it to do that. But a lot of people are going to just wander into Bitcoin and still be captured.
Right. Well, I mean, we're all sort of fundamentally captured, right? And that's sort of the weird thing. I mean, as you know, I mean, you've now seen the lineage traced out. I mean, about as clear as I can possibly make it to go like, this is why things work the way they do, right? And I'm just about done with chapter 5 now. And so I'm now trekking from the ancient world into the modern world. And chapter 7 is going to be sort of the capstone of that, right? Where it's like, because chapter 6 starts getting into like military campaigns and empire. And chapter 7 is like, this is why the world looks like the way it does right now. This is the exact, as clear as I can possibly make from the best available evidence out there. This is why the world works the way it does, and this is why money works the way it does. But when I'm of the opinion that once you see the path, you kind of go, oh yeah, like that. It's not like something where you go, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, why would they? How about there's not like a lot of like room to dicker. You just kind of go, oh yeah, like okay, yeah, all of this, like it's not some sort of like
May more.
fantastic thing that God had to create or some alien species had to come down. You just go, yeah, it's a logical progression, and it shows up all over the world, and it's just this particular combination of things happen to be the thing that happens to be the thing that keeps going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but it also flips on its head, like ideas about like a Bitcoin standard. Like you go, that's just impossible. Like it's not like maybe someday the world will operate on a Bitcoin standard. You go, it can't. Like just if you understand the origin history of money and you see how it traces forward, you go that you can never be on a thing where Bitcoin is a state unit of account. And at the core of that is you go, well, there's only 21 million of them. So you can't tax in it because eventually the state owns all the Bitcoin. Like, so how does your Bitcoin standard work, right? Like if it's the state unit of account and they can just gobble up all the Bitcoin by forcing you to pay your tax in it, you go, that doesn't sound like a great outcome, right? Like they can't take all the gold. I mean, they can try, but there's always new gold coming in, but there's not a endless supply of Bitcoins coming online. So it sort of complicates that narrative a lot, you know? And that's kind of my fear with writing the book at all, because I very much believe in the Bitcoin experiment from a commodity perspective, from a store value perspective. I don't put any stock into like monetary qualities to it because I now am, whereas I had a sneaking suspicion when I was writing The Great Realignment, I have a very clear indication now. I go, yeah, like that's not a thing. So I'm curious what you think about that.
Well, the closest a lot of people can get with the overall concept, I think, is what we know to be like the matrix. And so you can think of, and it's popular culture now is the matrix. But it's framed in kind of either a sci-fi concept or as it exists now, conspiracy, a cabal, or there are powers in this world, but it's also a conspiracy.
Right.
And the thing about the matrix as a system, it's just sort of like the system has always protected itself once naturally. The only way it can work is to maintain itself and thus protect itself or make tweaks, but it's not, it can't shut itself down. It is to run.
Right.
And so it's not like you can't leave. It's just that the cost or risk of leaving has increased in ways where it's like it's really, really hard to leave, or
It's
like
impossible. Yeah.
like, or maybe you imagine how you technically you could leave, but oh my goodness, that's well, ultimately, I mean, unless you got just the right land with all the resources you need, and you're really good at a lot of things, and if you get hurt or make a mistake, you got a community that's also in on it with you, with also what, say the right, even just medicines or things that you need to, the way we have our lifestyle now, it's really hard and costly to leave. So call it the matrix. And the matrix is good to us, but we are captured.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the cost of exit is now insurmountable for 99.99% of the population. Like you just can't get out of the system. Like, yeah, you can run off and live in the woods and be a fucking weirdo that collects nuts and berries and, you know, shoots squirrels and whatever. But that's not really an escape, is it? I mean, that's just sort of like hiding more than anything, you know. And
Right.
it reduces you to a very primitive state, right? So it's not necessarily a pleasant existence, and you're still subject to sovereign capture, right? Like you never get away from, like there is no land on the earth that's not accounted for.
Yeah.
Right?
What land do you have that's not
Yeah, that's
owned
not under sovereign
or
control.
property tax? Yeah.
Like there is no like, oh, this is the independent land of out in the middle of nowhere where there is no sovereign control. Antarctica is about the closest you can get. And even there, like if you just go, hey, I'm going to move down to Antarctica and set up a igloo and, you know, live off the land, people are going to be like, no, you're not. Like we gate that island. Like unless you're swimming there, you're not. It's not happening, dude. So I mean, if you think, well, I'm going to run off to Montana, like, well, just tell that to Randy Weaver and see how well that worked out, or Idaho or whatever,
Idaho,
Yeah. So it's like you can be like the Unabomber, I guess, and live in a shack and pee in a pit, and however the hell that guy got by. But even he was interfacing with the world. He would go into town and
you have to go to town and get
stuff, right? So it's like the notion of like you get to wake up and be Neo, I think is sort of fantastical, right? Like it's just not like we can't all just quit and go hunt and gather our way through the world anymore, because like we would strip the planet dry in like weeks. Like literally if 7 billion people were like, oh, we have to all go and hunt and gather to get sustenance, like it's over. Like right, there's just like the planet will be devoured, and then what remains is a bunch of starving bipedal monkeys that are kind of running around going, what happened to us? Oh, I thought I was escaping the Matrix. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I read an interesting thing about the way things work, where I'll call it the Fed, the Matrix. It gets to have its private systems. It's all private internally. It's like a black box, private blockchains, and then everything we have more and more surveilled is open to them, public to them,
Right.
Versus what Bitcoin could allow, or what the way the system should be, is that for the public to have privacy, like I think of the Cypherpunks manifesto, the public to have privacy, and the Fed should be quite public and transparent to us.
Right.
Like flip the script around, where if the government that served the people was open, public, and transparent, and what we did as individuals was private, the way it is right now is opposite. It's like the machinations of the Fed and the government and stuff. It's like this black box and lies and crime, and then we're just fed a stream of other propaganda, and yet everything we do is sort of more and more and expected to simply be accessible, cancelable, plugged in, can't unplug. But
well, I mean, like you've read the first few chapters of the book, right? And so you look at that and you go, well, how is that different than 12,000 years ago? Like the first people that planted a field, someone said, hey, we need to maintain this field, because if we don't, we're going to starve next winter. And they go, oh, yeah. Well, how are we going to do that so it's fair? Like it shouldn't just be Tom tending the field all the time. Like Tom and Mary and Joe and everybody should help out and take their turn. Yeah, okay, let's organize a collective communal effort. Like this week Tom will do it, this week Mary will do it, blah 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 blah. But when that settlement grows to 1,000 people, you go, who organizes this work now? Because like I see a bunch of guys who say they're doing work, but they're just kind of sitting around loafing and they're eating food, but they're not really helping, but they come on and go, no, but I am helping. I just did this. You just didn't see it. And yada, yada, yada. So somebody somewhere very naturally is going to come on and go, well, we should probably manage this. We should probably come up with a way to make sure that Tom's actually doing what he's supposed to do. Mary's doing it, because our group survival depends on it. So it's all just very natural, logical kind of thing. Once you put down roots, you have to figure out how to make sure those roots don't get upturned, so you end up all starving or, going hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a hunter-gatherer and you go, hey, we're all out of food here, let's go to move that other place where there was food last time. Oh, that's a good idea. Like, yeah, let's just go, right? Like there's no, like, you don't have to coordinate tasks on who's going to like pack up the camp. Like everyone just goes, oh, that's just what we do. Like we're just going to pick up and move. So when you can't do that anymore, and when you're all of a sudden dependent on this thing where it's like, hey, this was easy the first time we did it, but now we have to keep maintaining it. Oh shit, I didn't think about that part, right? So then the managerial thing comes in. But then when you're managing people, someone says, well, hey, I worked 8 hours and Tom only worked 6 hours. And I grew, this big pile of wheat, and he only grew like a little sack of wheat. Like, how's that fair? You go, yeah, we should probably figure out a way to measure all this. And, and from there, you just keep building.
Yeah.
So when it comes time to like what the Fed is doing, and like, of course it's opaque. Of course it's going to be a black box. And of course they're trying to make sure that they can count everything correctly, because that's the job of the state. Their whole existence rotates and hinges on the idea that like everything should be measured, everything should be measurable, and everything should be accounted for. So how do you do that? Well, this is it. That's what it looks like,
Yeah.
right? So
It's like that. It goes all the way back through the very organization of becoming more, if you call it sedentary, we got a good space here. Let's make this work. Okay, we're not moving as much. We've evolved storage technology. We got a supply here. Oh, there's a hard time, dry season, monsoon happened or whatever. People got to flock to where they can at least eat. And then to integrate with that, okay, well, what do you get for your value as a person who works or provides?
right.
Anyway, all the ledger of all that. And it makes me think of the meme where people talk about the Matrix today or the Fed today, and it's the astronauts up on the moon looking at the Earth or whatever, and the junior astronauts like looking at the Earth saying, "Oh my gosh, it is a Matrix," and the astronaut behind him with a pistol is going, "It's always been that way."
Yeah.
It's always been that way, long before money.
Yeah.
There was not money. It was
Right.
a complicated ledger tracking debts. And yes, barter and things were happening, but the first instantiation of what you might call became money was not medium of exchange. It was tracking debt and tracking human capital and controlling
Right.
people, managing
Right.
people.
Managing. Yeah. But managing, the difference between being a manager and a gatekeeper is a matter of degrees, right? Like I think I've got a line in the book that says, "Hey, the door to the lifeboat is also the door to, um, you know, like rule, right? Like it's the same. If you can decide, if you are the person who holds the keys to the door to the storehouse, and you go, well, it's a lean time. We need to figure out who owes what or who gets what, right? Like all the crops are blighted, so we need to raid the stores to make sure that everyone doesn't die. I am the guy that you all put in charge of that. Cool. So he or she is going to sit there and dole out, like, you get 1 cup of grain, you get 1 cup of grain, you get 1 bread loaf, you get 1 bunch of grapes, whatever it is. But in the boom times, it can just as easily serve as like, well, Tom, you didn't really do your work this week. So unless you do your work, you're not getting your cup of wheat, your bread loaf, your bunch of grapes, whatever it is. And that shifts the relationship all of a sudden, right? It turns it into, but if you also happen to be a person that goes, well, hey, wait a minute, I can enrich myself by holding the keys to that door. I can make people give me things so they can get in the door. That's kind of cool. And I can loan things from behind the door and then collect interest on it. That's a pretty cool shift on things. And it's not a big stretch of the imagination. You don't have to like imagine some secret cabal coming up. It's a very opportunistic frame. You just go,
Makes sense.
oh, right. Like I'm standing in front of the door. I'm the guy with the keys, like GFY, you know? And if you got a buddy who's down the street who's like, oh, I also have the keys to God. Really? Yeah, I'm the temple scribe. I'm the temple, the temple like prophet or whatever it is. And you go, hey, well, let's join forces, Tom. Like, if we tie all this together, then me and you are kind of like in charge of this. That's kind of cool, right? And I go, yeah, because I hate working in the field. Working inside the temple is pretty cool. And yeah, working inside the storehouse is pretty awesome. And, like chicks come by and offer to do things for me. And, all these people come and give me bribes and like, okay, like I'm doing really, really well, man. I haven't picked up a plow in like weeks, months, years. This is awesome. We should cement this, right? So it's
and their value is that they can read the scroll or read the clay. Who can do that? A select few of ministers can have been trained and or raised to read and count and track. So when there's a question of the public comes in, is arguing this or that, you can say, oh no, right here. See, remember a year ago, 2 years ago,
yeah,
you promised this at 30% interest. You owe us a sack of grain seed,
yeah,
or a shekel,
right,
or your daughter.
yeah,
That'll work.
or whatever, or you'll do.
Well, yeah, you can. We'll take you for forever,
Yeah.
or for you can work it off in a few years, but
Yeah.
you work for us now. Hence the matrix.
Right.
And so what we're grappling with today, it's like nothing has really changed other than the speed and the technology and the global instant access to it all over a large number of people, which the only way it can do that is by having done that.
Right.
How else would it be manageable at all?
Right.
And so meanwhile, yep, when taxes come due, what are you to argue it?
There is no argue. There's no one to argue with. Right.
Yeah.
It's not like I owe you taxes and I can come talk to you, Fritz, and go, hey, Fritz, I know I owe you some tax, but man, times are tough this week. And, I just lost my job. My foot got bashed up by a rock. And you go, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Pay me when it's like it's this faceless thing and this looming threat that's just there's no manager. It's like you're just managed by a book.
Right. Yeah. We have the books. Like, you have the books. Can you read? No. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we're and not only are we that smart, we're actually ordained by God.
Right.
Our gods. I remember I went to a Mayan temple on the Yucatan Peninsula. There were some temples we went to visit in Chichen Itza a few years ago. And I remember because in your book you describe this isn't limited to agrarian cultures, grain, cereal, wheat, and all that. Across the world in different cultures, there were avenues for these kinds of power matrix designs to occur. Human systems evolved under these paradigms. And I remember when we went to Chichen Itza and we went to the temple and we were learning, we had a great tour guide who was describing, kind of early origins of how and when and why they even started some of this stuff and describing a lot of the belief systems and all that. And, you could chalk it up to, okay, these ancient belief systems in a crazy, chaotic world. A practical benefit to building something tall in this jungle where it's very, very flat all around, all the trees grow to a certain height. And if you're down on the jungle floor and you're doing all your things, it might start to rain. It might start to get windy. It might get dry. But I mean, there's not as many places where you can get up and see the sky above you, let alone see the horizon.
Right.
And by building a temple, by getting an organized collection of humans to move all that rock and build a pyramid, the people that had access to the top of the pyramid, not that people are allowed up there now, but from video that you see and pictures you see, if you had access to the top of the pyramid, you are another good tree stand above all the trees. Suddenly you can see the entire landscape. From there, you can sit there. You have better access to the stars and patterns there. You start thinking about astronomy stuff. You also have access to weather. Like you can sit there and you can see a storm front coming from half a day away or even just hours away. Oh, there's a storm coming. Right. Versus everyone in the trees wouldn't know it till it rained or got a little darker.
Right.
So you could make an announcement like about some weather thing and lo and behold, it's like you can see the future.
All right.
So you could make those kinds of proclamations. And how do you know that? Even if it's like meteorology, you could say so what you're doing is you're reading the gods. You're communicating what the gods are going to do.
Right.
And as far as the people are concerned, you speak for the gods.
Right. Yeah. It's all
yeah. So, and there you have it, folks.
Well, but the secondary, I think the first order effect of that is that you speak for the gods and you say, hey, God commands us to build this thing. But not only do you build this thing, it now becomes a place where you can start counting people. You go, the gods say that you need to be here every 5th week to do XYZ thing. So all of a sudden, it gives you the same legibility that the field does, right? Instead of going out and counting the fields and having someone count who's on what house and what field, the people come to you. And so you use infrastructure as a place to gather accounting. And then accounting can become obligation, just the exact same way. You were supposed to be here for the processional. We took a count at the gate, at the door, and we noticed you weren't there. The gods are angry. Now you owe us an extra day's labor.
Yeah.
Or, hey, the god said that on this ritual day, we need to begin construction on this temple. And these 4 people didn't show up for temple construction day. Now they owe us more, right? So they're in debt to us. So all of a sudden you've transformed that same exact structure, just using a different mechanism, but it's the same core principle. is there a centralized thing that is under absolute control and authority over a select group of people? Is there a gateway that can be kept? And then can you count what is supposed to happen as people cross that threshold? Whether it's grain in and out or labor days owed or whatever, it becomes an accounting problem, and it becomes a resource allocation and management problem. And as you build out that infrastructure and you make these causeways and these grand plazas and all these kind of things, those are all places to collect human beings. So you can get all these disparate people out in the jungle somewhere where to count them would be impossible. But now you've made it possible to account for, make these people legible. And once someone is legible and then tied to a duty, all of a sudden they're obligated. And then you've got the faint trace of like, oh, this is how I ended up on top of this little heap because I drew lines, essentially, and I made it so I could count things that were uncountable before.
Yeah.
Then the next step is just making those things that you count equal, right? Like you abstract that value. You go, well, what is a day's labor worth? Well, that's worth a pound of cacao beans or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter the medium at that point. You just go, this is the standard measure. One day's worth of labor is worth a pound of bananas. And so we're going to use bananas as an exchange medium. But obviously it's not durable, but if it happens to be jade, obsidian, shells, doesn't matter really. You just go, well, this substitutes for, this renders equal a day's labor from an adult versus a day's labor from a child. This renders equal, like a day's labor from an adult is 1 gram of silver. A day's labor from a child is 0.25 grams of silver, or X number of days is worth X, pounds of shells, or X number of thing is worth this type of this thing,
So but you can translate debts around and what's owed. And
correct. Yeah. And so you don't even have to maintain the tablet anymore. You just go, well, in order to maintain who owes what, we just need to make sure they drop off X amount of things. And that's it. Is the debt satisfied? Did they drop off those things? Yeah, the debt's satisfied. Did they not drop off those things? Nope. Then they owe us more. Like it becomes a very simple process, but it doesn't take, you don't have to be like an Imagineer to see like how this evolves. You just go, oh yeah, like if I was in that position, I'd do the exact same thing, because how else are you going to do it? Like there's no other way. So, when people talk about like the transformation of the Bitcoin standard, or, people are going to be private and governments are public, you go, well, it's kind of not what the purpose of the government is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fantasy, but it's like so what is money? Well, a medium of exchange to make barter easier, right? Well, more accurately, or, so you'd say that's not actually accurate. More accurately, you might say it's a medium of debt, or the tracking of debt, the ledger of which is not even just, it's not money. It's tracking debts to include the tracking on a ledger of who's the head of household, what's the census, who lives where, who governs these areas, and who collects. And it's hard to collect, so we need a medium to collect, or to translate days of ditch digging for pounds of grain, right, or whatever else. Okay, you gave us a year of your slavery. Well, then that's worth so much. And what's the medium of debt?
Right.
Well, we need a thing, or we need a unit of account of this debt tracking. We need money.
Right.
Barter completely aside. Now, once the money was created to track the debts, and for the, for those managing all the people and all the things, they need that medium of debt. Well, then the people naturally are going to use that medium of exchange for their own business, because that's ultimately what you got to pay the sovereign in anyway.
Well, and the beauty of that arrangement is the sovereign, the state, the whatever apparatus can look around and go, hey, what are people trading already? Right? We go, oh, well, people love to trade shells. Oh, let's make the unit of the account a shell. Let's just standardize it. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Hey, I noticed these traders from here use a lot of this silver stuff. Like, why don't we use silver? Oh, that's a good idea. Hey, silver turns out it's pretty easy to make it like consistent. Oh, that's nice. Cool. Let's put a mark on it and say you gotta, but the first, as you'll see, like I'll send you chapter 5 when it's done, but those first measures are not like stamped coins. They're just like a weight of silver. You go, well, you need to supply 8.5 grams of silver and you pay your debt. Oh, okay, cool. What does that silver have to look like? Doesn't matter. Bring us shavings, bring us whatever, as long as it's silver and it weighs out, it's good. Cool. All right, I'll do that. So people could show up a little like junk silver, hack silver, whatever they called it. And, you know, from there, it becomes a logical step, right? The next step is go, well, God, this is kind of a pain in the ass. Like we have people like dropping off silver dust and sometimes it's a little lean, it's a little light. Like, how about we just make it a standard measure of this thing that people are already trading? And then we'll just make people trade that. Like, doesn't that kind of work? And go, yeah, we can still keep track of the debts. We can do all the things we need to do. And it's like standardized. So everybody knows exactly what it means. Like, so you can say, you can suddenly abstract value just by making a measurement item that is divisible and portable. And you can go, any debt can now be settled amongst everybody just because they all know this common language that the state's already told them to speak. And if it's a natural thing that people were already trading, they just go, oh, yeah, of course the state wants this because this is the thing we use already anyway. Mm-hmm. Makes perfect sense. So it's not that the commodity theory doesn't exist because it's clearly obvious people trade things of value. And if you can divide things of value, it makes it convenient for trading, right? But to imply that is money because people are trading something that they like that's divisible doesn't necessarily rise to the level of money. It's just trade. It's just simply trading. Just the same as if I said, hey, I really like your Bitcoin sign in the back there. I'll trade you my hat. You go, yeah, okay, cool. Now, if we both agreed that, hey, this gold thing showed up, like Travis came by and dropped off this big sack of gold, and it's pretty neat, man. Like it's all shaped in these little figurines and stuff. Like, I'll trade you one of those figurines for your Bitcoin sign. You go, yeah, okay, cool. That's great. Did I just create money? No, I just gave you a shiny thing that you like that you agreed to swap the Bitcoin sign for. So it's not money. It's just an object. So it kind of, the idea of like the barter thing is sort of not quite on point, right? Yeah, but neither is the stock to flow thing where it's like, oh, this replaces this because of this reason. Like none of that stuff lines up with like what is money and what is its purpose. Because the purpose is making things legible and abstract and countable, right?
Yeah.
And exchangeable. And whether or not something becomes that unit is secondary to what the unit is designed for, because you can just as easily substitute a piece of paper. I think we've demonstrated that rather clearly for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something that people want to trade. It can just be something that the state says you must trade. And people go, okay, well, I get it. Like that was it.
Yeah. And interestingly, people think of money in different ways as like what money means to them, like a store of value, like the dollar being some sort of store of value. And on the Federal Reserve note, it says for all debts, public and private.
Yep.
I mean, it's a debt tracking thing.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I'm going to throw in a good quick word from our sponsor. Let me do this.
Yeah.
MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. One single MicroSeed kit allows you to stamp as many seed phrases as you want. MicroSeed comes with stainless steel washers, a titanium washer, and even a nylon washer. And you can fit all 12 or 24 words on one single washer. With promo code FRITZ, you'll get 5% off your order. Get the kit and crank out all the keys you'll ever need forever.
Yay!
MicroSeed.
We got a MicroSeed ad before the end of the show.
You can exit the matrix with MicroSeed.
Right, yeah. Only you, though.
Only you.
It's a super secret.
What's the Black Friday code? Black
10.
Black 10. So you can use Black 10 for Black Friday sale.
Right up till December 1st. So,
10% off.
Yeah, you get 10% off.
10% off. Don't worry about that Fritz code.
Yeah.
You can use Black 10.
Yeah. Get you a MicroSeed for a pretty decent little discount. Some guy, got on Twitter and was like, man, you guys are stingy. I'm like, dude, our margins are not, it's not like we've got some Temu thing that we buy for $3 from China and just shows up here. It's like we got a lot of shit to pay for, So I get the sort of impulse, but
once you get the concept, you're like, oh, how simple is that? How convenient is that? Couldn't I mean, washers you can get at the hardware store, right? I'll just stamp my own. Okay, well, good luck. Well, I can make my own jig. Okay, good luck.
Yeah, go nuts. I mean, and the thing is, I'm not opposed to it. I just go
no,
nuts.
do it. Do it.
Yeah, just get off paper. Like that's all
Just
we
get
really
off
care
paper.
about. Wow.
Get self-custody, get off exchange,
And run a
hey,
goddamn
run a
node.
node.
Yeah, exactly.
Run a node.
So yeah, you absolutely don't have to buy our thing. I think it's just an elegant way to do things. I think it's a convenient way to do things, but it's not the only way to do things. Like you can literally just go buy a set of stamps off Amazon and go buy some steel and just start hammering away like a monkey. You can grab it's not rocket science to figure out how to stamp something into metal. Ours is just a thing where you go, well, if you want it like this really tidy, neat, discreet, easy to hide package, and all these reasons, like I think it makes perfect sense. Like I don't know why anyone would use anything else, but if you did, or you just didn't want to spend the money on the tool or whatever, I go, I mean, I don't fault you for it. I go, yeah, well, of course, like save some money, dude. Stack more sats instead, but
sure. Just if what you got is a piece of paper or you're on exchange, think about how risk avoidant you are.
Yeah.
And if you have an amount of Bitcoin that you respect, secure that bastard.
Yeah, for sure.
Those UTXOs secure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, if you're in the world of like, I don't really get the tech, but I feel like I should be taking self-custody, call the Bitcoin Way. They're like friends of ours. They're super nice people, and they're really, really good at teaching people how to do that. So like I've said often on Twitter, if you have a stack worth protecting, it's a call worth making. So at the Bitcoin Way _ on Twitter, you should check them out. Super, super, super smart people and really, really good at helping you take self-custody and set up a node. They're like really, really good about pushing the idea that, hey, if you're doing this, you should also run a node. Yeah. So God bless at the Bitcoin Way, and God bless all the fine people over there, and can't wait to hang out with them again, hopefully in Prague next year.
Yeah.
And we should invite Michael back or something, see if he'll hop on again. He's always
great guys there. Separate random fiat thinking thing here, but I saw this interesting article that Swan actually put out, and it's been talked about elsewhere, but kind of like what happened with the US dollar Bitcoin price, and kind of like, I mean, obviously we know, what's his face? Diamond, JP Morgan.
Diamond.
Diamond.
Yeah.
He don't like Bitcoin, and it's kind of the rat poison squared thing, as he would say. But I think they don't want to be left behind in any good market.
I think that was Charlie Munger, by the way. But anyway.
And so Charlie Munger said the rat poison squared, and then Diamond is kind of in that camp. But so MSCI, that's the Morgan Stanley Capital,
right? Yeah,
Index. International.
Yeah.
So they had put out a memo basically saying that they floated a proposal to exclude companies whose balance sheets are predominantly Bitcoin. And then before the price started dropping, JP Morgan raised margin requirements on master-backed positions from 50% to 95%. Clients reported delays of moving shares out of JP Morgan custody. I heard one story of like 50,000 Bitcoin that took 3 months or something. And it was just like, I mean, if you were trading elsewhere, that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
And then the unwind began, but Saylor said that, JP Morgan's warnings were alarmist. But JP, so you sort of just say, okay, well, so JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, they don't like Bitcoin, or they see it as a risk. It's too volatile. People are leveraged, like they get all that. It's like, okay, business sense, right? But then recently, JP Morgan is actually preparing a structured bond tied to BlackRock's IBIT. So while they're like shitting on Master, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin generally, they call it, a high index risk. They were more quietly building inroads to their own ownership, profiting. So while suppressing the price, kneecapping MicroStrategy, or I should say strategy, they're taking this opportunity, I think, to get in.
Potentially.
So
Yeah.
potentially, like, they're going to say all that while they get in, and then they're not, catching up from behind as much, you'd say. I don't know.
Potentially.
I found that interesting.
That's an interesting idea, I suppose. But, ultimately it's like fiat people are going to do fiat things, like that's
Fiat's going to fiat.
Yeah.
Market's going to market.
Yeah. Markets are going to market and fiat's going to fiat and, and bankers are going to bank. So that's, it's unsurprising if there's some sort of secret machinations going on in the background, but they're also the same people that will be pumping stocks right up until the moment they crash, right? Like, and you can just watch any sort of legacy media, like every single bubble I've ever seen in the history of the stock market where I've been paying attention, like right before Black Monday, Black Tuesday, Black Wednesday, Black Thursday, Black Friday, Black whatever, right before the, thing just like the rug gets pulled out from under, there's pundits on media going, don't take this dip for a thing. Hang on to your stocks. It's a good time to buy more stock. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's just like constant. And you think like after however many bubbles and pops, people would start looking at that and going, I don't know if I should rely on Jim Cramer this time. This sounds like a bad idea. But yet they do. They just keep going, oh, yeah. And you can go to any party and some guy will be sitting there parroting whatever he heard on CNBC that day. Well, it's a real good time to buy stocks right now because of reasons. But it's just like the same exact reasons he just heard on TV 20 minutes ago. So,
I saw a stat that inverse Kramer outperformed Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. Right.
How bad is that?
Well, the guy's captured. I mean, he makes his money by shilling junk, right? And being a cheerleader and being a little like wacky personality. Like he doesn't give a shit about you or what your portfolio does. He's just up there going, this is a buy.
Yeah, it's farming views and engagement, not outcomes.
Yeah, right. But, so, woe to the people that buy into this stuff. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that's kept this little financial apparatus floating for the last 50 years. So you go, well, who are we to argue, right? Just stay humble, stack sats, and hope the Bitcoin thing works out, because that's probably as just as good a strategy as, hoping NVIDIA somehow magically keeps floating to $20 trillion. I think Bitcoin's got a clearer path to that than NVIDIA does. So I don't know, but you do you. You want to fiat and be in fiat land? Go and be in fiat land. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be in orange coin land going, come on, baby.
Yeah, I'm all orange. And, and even when people are, I'll be talking finance generally or Bitcoin specifically, and people be like, well, what about like gold's up too? What about gold? What do you think of gold? And kind of like Larry Lepard, he's like, yeah, I mean, gold and Bitcoin, he'll say, like he hedges on gold as well. Like gold also, if fiat has no bottom, then there are some actual commodities that theoretically would have no top.
Yeah. So
like gold itself, gold could also just be crazy because fiat has no bottom. But if you want to be able to zap across the world or secure it better, more easily and move with it, Bitcoin's better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like to just, I know a lot of Bitcoiners just discount gold entirely. And I go, well, it does have a 12,000 year track record, right? Like Bitcoin's got a 12-year track record by comparison. So let's not get too far over our skis here. But it also has a lot of negative, things about it and storing it and holding it and buying it and whatnot. So it's, I wouldn't say like if you want to go all in, like there's nothing wrong with holding gold is my kind of core idea. Like if someone said, hey, I'm really into gold, I go, that's probably smart.
Take self-custody.
Yeah, take some self-custody. Don't own gold ETFs or whatever. But I don't think there's anything natively wrong with the idea. It's just it has inferior qualities.
Yep.
Assuming that Bitcoin remains decentralized and secure. But if Bitcoin doesn't remain decentralized and secure, then gold suddenly has superior qualities again. So it's not entirely worth just, selling your entire stack of Scrooge McDuck coins or whatever. But, you do you.
And then the only ultimate maybe FUD someone has to say, well, okay, but if the grid all goes down, what does Bitcoin run on? Not that it couldn't get built back up or run on strings for a while until the grid came back. Well, okay, well, but what if the grid goes down? What if electricity's gone? And we've had this conversation before. It was like, that's not even a gold standard. That's a lead and gardening standard.
Right. It's
And
that, dude. Like,
that's a different world. We're not talking about that.
yeah. Well, I mean, even it's not even a lead standard. I mean, what's going to happen is people are going to gang up, and most people are going to end up dead or subject.
Human cannibalism standard.
Well, it's just like people are going to group up. They're going to bring some order to the chaos. They're going to establish a new order, and then that order is going to be followed because they're going to count people. They're going to make them legible. They're going to make them obligated, and then that's it. You got a new power structure. Like it's a self-repeating, self-iterating process that's been recurring for 12,000 years. There's nothing new about this process. So anybody thinks, oh, well, if I have gold, I can protect myself. Well, it's just not how that game gets
played. The ledger of the matrix shall continue.
The ledger impulse, the habit is always present. Always, 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 eternally. As long as you have fixity and a resource that's capable of being defended and a door or gateway to that, a bottleneck to that resource, you've got a power hierarchy every single time. There's no other way around it. You just don't get to play a different game because you want to. So, it doesn't, if you have a big hoard of gold and a bunch of guns and a bunch of food, someone's going to come along and take it from you, period. Like there's no other outcome. There's no, like that guy in The Last of Us who builds a fence around everything and does all this crazy shit. It's like, nope, that's just not going to happen, dude. You're too easy to overwhelm, especially as a solo guy. And especially if you have like massive resources behind that gate, like penetrating that gate is a no-brainer. Like they just sit around and wait for you to walk outside and they shoot you in the head and then game over, right? So it doesn't matter what your defenses do because you're just like sniped. So, it's all just like apocalyptic fantasy shit, but it doesn't withstand any scrutiny if you actually pay attention to it. So
it's the Armageddon fetish. And as much as I love, zombie tropes, the metaphor of that fantasy, it's enjoyable, like The Last of Us, The Walking Dead. The fantasy of it being, like that you can just you could roam and scrounge through the woods or through collapsed villages or towns quietly and sneakily and just be fine, and that you're largely unfettered as long as you're quiet and sneaky.
right.
And the reality being, like, as soon as, does every vending machine you stumble across still have a can of soda and a candy bar in it?
Right.
Or like, do you still have ammo? Are you that good with a bow and arrow and is there still game everywhere you go? And there's not a lot of competition for that.
Right.
It's usually like more of it starts out easily with like a lone survivor scenario, because that's very manageable as a storyline goes.
Right.
Because if it's kind of continued, like complicated
hierarchy,
confluences of communities or entanglements and relationships, and you've got kids with you, you're caring for elderly, you're only so good at foraging, or there's not much in the prairie, actually.
Right.
There's just not that much.
Right.
It gets complicated. So hence communities, ledgers, tracking. And when memory fades beyond a month or two and there's too many people, what in lieu of memory, you've got your ledger. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to finish this book. I'm really excited to get it out to the world and really start pushing this point harder. And, I hope if I do it right, it'll add to the conversation and make things.
It does. Like I've said, I'm perpetually impressed. I can't wait for it to come out. Bitcoiners would love it, but everyone, if you're at all curious or interested in kind of what keeps greasing the wheels and the gears of the world, the air that we live and breathe, which is monetized. If you are into money, economy, history, at least appreciate history, it threads the needle through all of that in a way that you're like, oh, I get why everything is the way it is now. Call it the Matrix, but it's always been this way, folks.
Yeah. Well, what I liken it to, I think, is like, well, I'm just going to pop the hood on the Matrix and show you where it comes from and why. And then you can decide what you want to do with that information after that. But, I hope my deep enduring hope is that it does inspire people to take Bitcoin more seriously. because at the bottom of this chain is still, and I've tested this idea against the robots already. I go, my ultimate destination is this. And the robot goes, well, here's all the problems. And I go, well, but what about this, this, and this? And the robot goes, oh, okay, well, that's actually an interesting way to look at it. And I think, and having pressure tested the idea multiple times now, I go, I think I'm onto something here that's profound.
It's novel.
Well, it's that Bitcoin is a novel and unique instrument in the history of mankind, since the birth of agriculture, since the birth of asceticism, since the birth of capturing resources. Bitcoin is a different thing, and that
changes the rules.
Well, on a tiny, tiny level, but on enough of a level that it matters, right? So that's what I hope.
New rule. It's a new rule.
Yeah, I hope that will be the broad takeaway for what is to come. We'll see.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of people, like, once people get it, and like I've spent days now just like churning in my head of like, oh my gosh, as my brain is stretched and my paradigm continues to shift, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing everything differently now. And then naturally, everyone's going to kind of think, well, okay, one, Bitcoin fixes this, right? Or how does it change it? Or where is this going then? On one hand, if Bitcoin, say, becomes large swaths of walled garden Bitcoin, or if you can leave the pasture, become free range chicken, you can still do that. But what does that look like? What does Bitcoin change? How does life look? What does the matrix have to do to still survive? They're not unaffected, but I can almost see it. But it's another step. Once you fundamentally understand money, like what you think money actually is.
Right. Yeah. It changes the calculus, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how the book is received. I think there will be a subset of people that really appreciate it. I think there may be, I think especially commodity people are going to be kind of put off by it. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, but
work that way. I think a lot of people, I think of like Larry Lepard, Lynn Alden, a lot of like Preston Pish, these people who know TradFi well and the new rules of a new game, and are bullish about it. It makes you pause and think about fundamentals. Like, what is money? You can't just say, oh, like all the things, unit of account, medium exchange, it fixed barter, things like that.
Right.
Oh, and then governments, states came in and used that because it made sense. Anyway, it's deep. So
yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I think we're a good ways in. Sorry for being late. Whoever's watching.
Oh, it's good. Our biggest fans were waiting and just like, where the hell are you guys? Because we're becoming famous.
Right. Huge. Huge in Japan.
All right. Best podcast this week. I will end it with our one last little word from our sponsor. And thanks for joining us.
Baby shill. See you.
Shill, baby, shill. Bye, y'all. MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. One single MicroSeed kit allows you to stamp as many seed phrases as you want. And you can fit all 12 or 24 words on one single washer. You can even go down to the hardware store and buy your own washers by the bag or the box and crank out as many as you want. Go nuts. You can also go to microseed.io to get any extra washers you need, including stainless steel, nylon, or even titanium washers. Your obscure little washer is indestructible, and you can hide it anywhere. Use your imagination. MicroSeed comes with stainless steel washers, a titanium washer, and even a nylon washer. Think of metal detectors or having to travel through security. Depth scanners cannot read this. Go to microseed.io and use promo code FRITZ to get 5% off the best seed stamping tool available. So get off paper and get yourself a MicroSeed at microseed.io.